Rock of the Marne halfway through the last turn. Not much changed during the German turn. They stayed completely the same here as well as over on this side. Over near Epernay, they pulled back their units into a more defensible line, just making sure nothing gets cut off. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, but it's a matter of I don't want to see something get cut off at the end of the game for no reason. But they did solidify their position right around Epernay as well. That was the biggest thing and why they had to pull their units back. That's going to be pretty damn hard to get anything into at this point. They pulled back a little bit along this line, as I said, trying to defend this victory point hex. And over here, they trashed that French tank and with their new reinforcements and managed to grab section. They also threw their one remaining airplane that they were able to refit into Caporal to try to defend that space. That, as far as I'm concerned, at this point, is the only victory point hex that's in dispute right now. The French could still get that. I don't think they can get Epernay. I don't think they can get Chateau-Thierry. I don't think they can get this one down here. So that's where all the effort's going to be. So here we are at the end of the Rock of the Marne. What do I say? You can't attack where you don't have supplies, and the particular hex that I was looking at hitting, there just wouldn't have been the supplies to reach. However, I saw two other opportunities. One was across the river on this hex, which they managed to take. Using a tank, they lost the tank in the battle, but, you know, it's the last turn of the game. And the other one was down here, which looks far, far away, but by breaking the German line and using an exploitable stack, they were able to run the exploit movement in order to capture that hex. It's not something you want to do usually in this game, but hey, again, it's the last turn. There's no takebacks after this, right? So it ends up being what, 2, and I believe this one's a 2 as well. It is. So it ends up a 3-point victory for the Allies. Chateau-Thierry, they got blasted at. I mean, they didn't even bother to make an attack on Epernay because it was just too strong. They did wipe out a headquarters and moved forward along the line. Got a victory over here that really doesn't matter in terms of game points. But yeah, it was a nail biter down to the end. Germans were winning on the last turn, but there were vulnerabilities. Those big tank units are impressive. I'm going to wrap this up with my normal vid. So, what do I say about something like this? First off, I don't like operational games usually. I enjoyed this. I enjoy all of them. I mean, I like war games in general. But operational games are definitely in my least favorite category. So let's look at what is different from most operational games here, because I'm not familiar with either the Standard Combat Series or the Operational Combat Series. I played Africa long ago, back when it was a non-series game. Big difference. So first of all, in this game as a whole, there's a lot more luck than I would have expected playing a roll. Rolling to see if you can attack at all, if your supply situation is good, is one big example of that. The planes, whether or not you get enough planes refitted that you can do anything. The combat chart, the damn combat chart is exceedingly variable. And I like all this. But some people would really, really hate it. The other thing is, and I don't know if I was playing well or not, but the opening game before, on the German advance, seems to me completely a game of maneuver. The French can stand, but it's so easy to cut off their supply, and that seems like a bad idea to try to stand with bad supply. As we saw over in the mountains, it eventually can be a very bad idea. Victory points, game's very close, at least the game I played. I suspect most games will be close. I think the game was balanced, particularly to try to make a good victory point situation. The question that I have in my head is, do those victory points reflect the importance of the locations? So for example, at the end of the battle, holding that mountainous terrain, would that be worth something? I mean, normally maybe this is so late in the war, what is worth it, what isn't? It's hard to tell. I don't think that anything the Germans could do at this point could win them the war. So no matter what happens in this battle, it's probably, unless it's a complete rout of the Allied forces, I don't think that you're going to have a major effect on the strategic outcome of the war as a whole. So given that it's not that big a deal to play something out where the victory points are just purely balanced. Special rules in this has a nice thick set of special rules. It goes, I don't know, I guess 5 pages of them. The biggies are the replenishment rules. And I don't know if these are in other SCS games, but you need supplies for your units to work. The supplies have to be generated by the headquarters. The headquarters get them kind of at random. And when that number's fairly low and you have good chance of it, okay, there's an off chance your attack may be delayed. But as the game goes on, even the Allied attacks end up bogging down, and they're not able to get replenished supply situations early, which changed the face of the last turn from where it might have been. The airplanes likewise have the same kind of effect. Both the headquarters, which use artillery for it, and the airplanes provide combat shifts on the table, which is a big deal because you don't need to get 6-to-1 odds or better than that if you're in bad terrain, if you have those shifts. Tanks also provide those shifts, which is why they're so potent. I mean, they're big 6-point units with 2 combat shifts. Machine guns provide defensive shifts. They're weak defensive units that just indicate a stronger position defensively, I think, temporarily. So they're kind of cool too. Some other special things is the breakdown units. The French regiments can break down into somewhat more mobile units. The Germans can break down into their Stoßtruppen, which have a number of special rules, among which they're exploit capable, so they get a second movement phase if they're not in a zone of control after combat. That's a powerful advantage. And that's really about it in terms of the special rules for the game. They provide for an interesting game, there's no question. And I don't know how many of them are available in other elements of the SCS. I enjoyed this in the end. At first, it really had me panicking because I felt like I was playing the game all along. I'm beginning to think I wasn't. That it should be a war of maneuver for the German assault. That the Allies do not want to lose their units that early. They want to be able to devote their force where they can. One issue that I have is that the victory points are spread out so much. So it feels like there's large areas of terrain that are... Hey, I very briefly wanted to say a few more words and I ran out of memory on my poor little camera. Components, overall good. I'm pretty happy usually with the gamer's components, so I'm not going to say a lot more about that. I think the only issue that I've had is the map. The counters kind of blend into it more than I like. That's been an issue on some of the Civil War games that I play that are tactical. It just feels the colorings do that to me. I don't know if that's the case. Some of the background colors on unit designations, like to see which command is which, are a little harder to distinguish than maybe I'd like. But those are minor issues. I mean, you know, when you get into the game and you're looking at a salient, you can see what's going on. When you need to know, is a unit part of this designation or another, you've got the numbers if need be. So that's not bad. The rule books, I love gamers rules. These are very clear, very understandable, well written. Always put on great paper. I mean, in a lot of ways, out of modern companies, they still are my favorite of the companies. I'm always worried what is going to happen with the multi-man kind of handling them. But this one's got the multi-man symbol on it, and it's still, up to the quality that I'm used to for gamers games. So overall, pretty good. Subject matter and operational level are the only things that are really bringing this down for me. I think I'm going to give it the benefit of a doubt because it's a good game. Give it a 7. It might deserve more. And if you like the idea of operational late World War I games, and it's an interesting subject, I'm sure. I'm not that big on operational games. I'm torn between the 7 and 6 because my leanings are towards, I don't even like operational games. But I want to give it a little bit of a boost because I think it is about as good as you can get on an operational game for me, with the high luck factor, with the variance, and the combat results, and the supply, etc. Other people may not be so happy with those aspects because you cannot control what you're going to do next turn, except by not doing anything this turn. You can set up an attack. You can't commit your headquarters. You have to know, if I do this, it means I may not be able to continue the attack. All right, so that's it for this one. Thanks.